Yeah, the only point that Jerry has is on top of his head, because I think he bumped into a door or something and he got a pump out on top of his head. That's the only point that he has, Skip. I see better than I hear. I hear what Jerry's saying, but I see in the last 7 games, he has at least 1 interception in all 7 games. Yeah. As a matter of fact, in 4 of those 7 games, he has at least 2 interceptions. Now, here's a guy that co-led the league in interceptions, and he missed 5 games. The last time that happened, Skip, Norm Snead did it in 1973. You remember old Norm. You probably covered him. Yeah. Jake Plummer did it in 99. Carson Wentz did it in 2020, and they missed 4 games. Dak co-led, and he missed 5. 5 games. 5. So what is Jerry talking about? It's in his DNA. What's in his DNA is turning the ball over. Now, remember last year, Skip, he had 14 fumbles. He lost 6. He cut that down. He only had 4 fumbles. Only lost 1. But he picked the interceptions up. Yep. So Jerry's just talking, just like he does a lot of times. They might need to, Jerry, because it's not making a whole lot of sense. He can't convince anybody that Dak is not turnover prone when they've seen in 7 straight games he's had at least 1. In 4 of the 7, he's had 2. So I'm confused. I really am confused. In 3 of the 4, guess what, Skip? In 3 of the 4 games, he got a pick 6.
3 of the last 4.
Yes.
3 of the last 4.
3 of the last 4. He got a pick 6.
And at Washington, he tried to throw 2 in a row, but they dropped it.
The guy slipped, but Kendall Fuller like, damn, I slipped. He said, but guess what? I'm going to get up, I'm going to stand right here, and he's going to do it again.
He'll throw it right back to me.
Right back to it. So, Skip, Jerry Jones makes no sense. No, I do not believe this in his DNA. That he's not going to turn the football over when what I've seen all year long is Dak turn the football over. So Jerry is absolutely wrong on this one. I understand what he's trying to do. I got the utmost confidence in Dak Prescott. He understands the turnover, the right balance between being aggressive and not turning the football over. I can't tell because all I can do is see. I see better than I hear. I hear what you're saying, Jerry. But when I watch, I'm like, damn, Dak, you threw another pick and another one and another one. 7 straight games, 15 times. In 12 games.
Okay. I hear everything you just said. I can't hear what Jerry's trying to say, but I will tell you this. I know Jerry well enough to tell you that I can smell when he's just trying to sell proverbial ice to Eskimos. I can smell it when he's just trying to spin it.
No, what you smell is bull jive. That's what you smell.
But he's not trying to spin this. I think he has convinced himself, because he paid the man so much money, he has delusionally convinced himself that Dak is that guy.
Right.
And I'm still waiting to see that guy emerge, and maybe he will over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Who knows?
Yes.
But to your point, I can't yet see it, because the harder I look, the worse it gets.
It does.
And the last line that Jen didn't get to, I got to read this one. This is Jerry on Dak. He understands turnover better than all of us put together. All of us put together, he understands. Dak understands how to avoid turnovers better than you and I and Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn and all of us.
More than Jerry, all of us. I thought Jerry was the game of football.
He's the guru. Yeah, he is the owner and the operator of my football team. All right, so I sat back last night and I thought, okay, has he been a turnover machine? I thought Andrew Luck coming out of college, I said he's going to be a high turnover guy. And for those first 3 years, he was, I can just show you the numbers, turnover machine.
Right.
Dak has not been that. But if we trace back Dak to Mississippi State, where I first seized upon him in 2014 when they rose all the way up to number 1. I'm watching a game on a treadmill one day. I was at a wedding, our man Witt's wedding in Sarasota, Florida. I'm watching Auburn at Mississippi State, and Dak Prescott just blew me away on the treadmill. Almost fell off the treadmill watching him. He just took Auburn all apart, and they rose to number 1.
Yeah.
Then they went to Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
All right, so here's the point in the bigger picture before I get to Tuscaloosa. So as a part-time starter in his, what would have been his redshirt sophomore year, he had 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, not the greatest of starts.
Right.
Showing you a little bit of high turnover. That fateful year 2014, which was the team's best year, he was 27 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. It's still a little high on the interception side, right? If you get to double digits.
Considering guys now throwing 40 touchdowns to 5 picks.
The final year that he stayed there, when he was a senior, he did not come out early because he wasn't good enough to come out early, because he was about to be drafted in the 4th round. And if not for maybe Jason Garrett at the Senior Bowl, I'm not sure he would have gone as high as the 4th.
Okay.
But in that final year there, the team fell off the map because it went 9-4 when a lot of people thought they were going to be really good. But he was 29-5, so that's a better year. That's where you say, okay, I like that.
Yes, yes.
Now back to the fateful 2014, it's his junior season. They go to Tuscaloosa, and it's Bama, and it's Coach Saban, it's St. Nick. We get all that.
Right.
But I thought Mississippi State was riding high, and he did have some weapons, and he was a weapon unto himself because he was running with the ball a lot at that point. So they go down there, and he threw 2 touchdown passes, and he threw for 290 yards, I guess it was. Yeah, 290 yards. He threw 3 interceptions. And I watched the game closely because I was beating my drum for Dak Prescott back on the old show on ESPN because I was enamored. And I thought, uh-oh, here he comes. And they became my favorite other team than the Oklahoma Sooners that year. And we talked and talked and talked about them on the air leading up to the big game at Tuscaloosa. Okay. So this was #1 in the nation versus #5 Bama, except unfortunately it was at their place.
Yes.
And you know what can happen at their place. Well, the final score was 25-20 because Dak threw a touchdown with like 4 seconds left.
Right.
You know, like it was one of those empty calorie touchdowns to cut it to that. But
so that's where he got so that's where he started eating the empty calorie food at college. Okay.
Okay. But I look back before the show today to remind myself of what happened on the interceptions. The first one came at Alabama's 40-yard line, so you're in Alabama's territory. And the second one came at Alabama's 15-yard line, so you got a chance to cash.
Yep.
And the last one came at Alabama's 20-yard line. You really got a chance to cash with 4 minutes left. You could have cut it to 25-20, and then we could have a conversation because you're back in the ball game, right? Get one stop, maybe you got a shot. Okay, so those are bad idea interceptions when you're on the precipice. And if it indicated things to come, yeah, okay, I'll buy this.
Right.
You know, that he's starting to show turnover prone at Mississippi State, especially in the bigger games.
Right.
Okay, so now I look at his body of work in the National Football League. So he's thrown 166 touchdowns since he came in the league to 65 interceptions. It's not great, but certainly not bad.
Yeah, as long as you're 2-1, but as long as you're 2.5-1, you're good.
All right. But he's lost 25 fumbles, so that's 90 total giveaways by Dak Prescott. That, since he came into the league, is the 8th most in the league. Well, it's not horrible, but it's not very good.
Right.
It's not what you'd call Super Bowl bound kind of quarterback.
But Skip probably wouldn't, and I didn't know where you were going with this, so I didn't really look it up. But I guarantee you, if you look at the guys that lead in turnovers, they're not winning a whole bunch of games. They're not winning in the playoffs.
I got it. It's Jameis was #1 because he's just been.
He got a bakery because all he does is turn it over.
Yeah, but you know, I liked him coming out.
But he was a turnover machine in college.
He was, and he had his off-field issue. We got all that, but man, couldn't he wing it? When he gets going, he can flat out
he threw
throw
for 5,000.
I know he can throw it, but he's going to throw it to you a lot, and he's going to lose the ball.
He
a
threw
lot.
30 picks in one season.
Okay, well that's set up the Brady thing.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Derek Carr is second on that list. And that should tell you,
they sent him home early. They sent him home before the season was over.
They just sent him home. But he's another one. You try to get your arm around him, and you just can't. He'll have a game, and you'll say, "Well, did you see that?"
Nope. Yep.
And they'll have a winning streak.
Yep.
Did you see that? And then all of a sudden,
did you see that?
Goes up in smoke.
Yes.
Okay, so he's second on that list. Matt Ryan is third on that list.
Turnover.
Okay. Your friend, third, fourth, fifth Cousins is fourth on this list. Jared Goff is high on this list because he's been a big turnover.
Yes, he
was better this year. This might have been his best year.
Yes,
you could argue.
because I think he went like 9 games without a turnover, without a pick, at least.
Your ex-friend, your old friend Carson Wentz is next on the list. And then Matt Stafford, because this is since Dak came in the league, because it's going to include all those bad numbers from Detroit.
Yes.
But I'll also warn you or remind you that last year, Matt Stafford led the NFL in interceptions, and they got hot and went and won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Because he's talented.
Yes.
If he can just figure out how not to throw it to you, if McVay can kind of keep him between the lines a little bit. But remember, he threw the one to Tart in the NFC Championship game. Tart no longer a 49er, but he just hit him right in the hands. It was a game changer, and he dropped it. That's who he has always been. All right, now this year, Dak Prescott. I even remind you against Philadelphia, a game they had to win, a game they did win, albeit against the reason they had to win it is because it wasn't Jalen, it was Gardner Minshew.
Right.
You got to win that game. It's your game to win because, or you could argue it's your game to lose at home, but you better win that game against Gardner Minshew, who still throws for 355 and goes up and down the field. But remember, we had pulled the video on this. In the fourth quarter of that game, Dak threw one pass into high traffic in the middle of the field, and like 3 Eagles could have caught it before the Cowboys caught it, and they knocked it out of each other's hands, and it was highly dangerously interceptable. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then he gets strip sacked, and the ball is loose, and it looked like 3 Eagles had it.
I thought Reddick had it.
Didn't you think?
I did.
And Biotish made the save of the year. I don't know how he like snaked the ball out from under Reddick, or somebody had it. Was it some? But I forget.
The same thing happened with the Texans. Remember, the Texans had him.
They
and
did.
He fumbled the ball, and somebody.
He did.
73 came up with it because it was his guy that made the sack.
All right. So he's actually had some good fortune on turnovers that teetered, that didn't go the other way.
Right.
So what's my read on him? Well, it's a be careful what you wish for. I believe when Dak Prescott looks in the mirror, he still sees a 4th-round pick. And he's a good guy, and he's a hard worker, and he's a try-hard guy, sometimes to a fault. But sometimes when you know you're overachieving a little bit, he's obviously got talent, but he doesn't have huge. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Joe Burrow to me, and he's not those guys. But he's the next tier guy, and he kind of hangs in there as that 10-ish on the list, like top 10-ish. Maybe he's 11, maybe he's 12, maybe he's fallen to 13th. But the harder he tries, the worse it gets. And he got paid. And remember, when he went to sort of quote-unquote contractual war with Jerry, bet on himself down the stretch of 2019, I thought he unraveled completely.
Well, he did, Skip, but also when you look at it, Skip, you pay somebody $40 million, you're not paying him $40 million to turn around and hand the ball off to Zeke and Tony Pollard.
Well, obviously.
So you want him to throw the football. But that's not the best thing for the Cowboys. It's been proven when they run it more than they throw it, they're more successful.
It screams at you. That's
but for some reason, they don't like winning like that. They like to try to win with Dak throwing the ball 40-plus times. And it sets him up for failure more times than not because he's going to put the ball in harm's way, Skip. He's just, you like to use the term, and I think you came up with the term, he's a careful gambler. He's not. He's not. He puts the ball in harm's way far too many times.
Okay, so the pressure has mounted because of, the contract. Not this year, but last year, he made $75 guaranteed million. And obviously, as a fan, I'm like, okay, show me. I got you. Way to go. You got your money. You won the battle with Jerry Jones. Jerry sat right there at the press conference and looked you in the eye and said, I overpaid you.
Yeah, you got me.
Okay, you got me. You took me to the cleaners. You took me to the bank.
Yep.
Okay, good. Now live up. And it's hard because he's not a top 10. He's like an 11th or 12th. So he starts trying harder and harder. And because you're the Dallas Cowboy quarterback, you're America's team quarterback, you are going to get your off-field opportunities.
But, Skip, there's more pressure because of, look at Tampa. Tampa has struggled all year long, with the exception of 1 or 2 games. They have looked very vulnerable, very beatable, and they've been beaten. They're 8-9. You get the Cowboys, who are favored going on the road, although they haven't won a road playoff game since '92. That's even more.
They're 0 for their last 8.
And you're dealing with a 45-year-old that didn't play well this year.
Okay.
So now but
he's 7-0 against you. So let's see. You're 0-8 over your last 8 road games.
But we're not going to get into the comments that Jerry said, because Jerry says, we're not playing Tom Brady, we're playing the Buccaneers. And so we might neutralize Tom Brady and still lose to the other guys. I understand the record that we haven't beaten Tom Brady. I said, I thought you said you weren't playing Tom Brady. So Jerry.
Okay.
But Skip, at the end of the day, you can't win this game with Dak playing the way he's played over the last 7 weeks. Because you play double for turnovers in the playoffs. And if you turn the ball over twice against Tampa, you're going to lose. It's really that simple.
I agree.
And because the momentum swing is just so vast come playoff time, teams will run 14, 21 points on you when you turn the ball over. And it seems like turnovers come in bunches. You turn the ball over once, and the next thing you know, somebody else spits it up, and now it's back-to-back turnovers, and now they're going in for another touchdown. And if you were down 3, you're down 10, you're down 14 before you know it.
Agreed. But the bigger picture, the external issue is he does so many national TV commercials. I think when he turns on the TV and sees himself again and again and again, it's hard on your psyche because you feel like you got to live up to that.
Well,
that direct TV commercial with the housewives, it's like every other commercial, right?
But you said that when he walks by, he sees a fourth-round pick. I think he sees himself as Patrick Mahomes. He sees himself as the guys because he's in that realm of money making.
Well, he knows he needs to be that.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
Okay.
But when I get paid like that, Skip, if I live in Beverly Hills, even though my house might not be as big as theirs, I'm in Beverly Hills,
Yep.
so I feel like I belong.
That is
well, if
true.
I'm in that contractual category with those other top guys, hell, I feel like I belong.
Okay. Then don't underestimate, although you probably will, but I don't underestimate the Cooper Rush factor. Because Dak went out opening night, he stunk against Tampa, got his thumb busted, gone for 5 games.
Right.
Here came Cooper Rush, and I said, I think they're going to be okay because I'd seen Cooper Rush at Minnesota the year before,
Okay.
and he'd thrown for 300 and whatever it was, 30 yards, and thrown a last-second touchdown pass to Amari Cooper to win the game against Kirk Cousins. Here he comes, and against Cincinnati, again, they were struggling at that point, and they left Jerry World 0-2. But in the last 1 minute of that game, Cooper Rush completes 3 straight big passes to set up a walk-off field goal.
Right.
Then he goes up to the Giants on Monday night when they were riding high, and they're pretty good.
They're in the playoffs.
I'm not going to be shocked if they go to Minnesota and win a playoff game.
either.
All right. So he goes up there, Saquon busts loose for a 40-yard touchdown, middle of the third quarter, and all of a sudden the home team is ahead 13-6. And in back-to-back drives, Cooper Rush said, no, I got you here. He goes 12 of 13 for 129 yards in just 2 drives.
Mm-hmm.
And bang, bang, touchdown, touchdown. They take the lead and don't look back. And then against Washington, Washington's got talent, as you just saw in the final game.
Right.
Well, against Washington, he picked them to pieces
Right.
at Jerry World,
Right.
okay? So he did that, and then he went to the Rams. He didn't throw for much because they didn't need him to throw much because the defense just rode that day. And by the way, I keep bringing it up, but the defense played better maybe because it's the backup and they think we got to
Right.
rise for the backup. Well, I wish they'd play that way for Dak because we haven't seen the likes of that defense since Cooper Rush played when they were just dominating.
I agree.
Okay?
But also, Skip, you have to also understand, you can't ask Dak to makes $40 million to play like Cooper Rush, where they're so like it's so like here. You pay Dak $40 million to
There's
take
not
risks.
even, it's not gambler, it's just careful.
Yes.
It's not careful gambler. He's just going to make the right read and throw to the right guy and hit him with a catchable pass. And under pressure, he was very good.
Yeah.
He was trustable.
But they're going to call the game different for Dak and they do for Cooper Rush.
So, but the point is, Cooper Rush, to me, I told you when Dak came back, he raised the bar.
Yes.
And I said, okay, Dak, you're on. You got Detroit and Chicago back-to-back at home. Remember, those were his first 2 games back. Show him, just show me what you got.
Right.
Well, I still say, I'm still a believer in Dak Prescott because I've seen too much good from him that slightly outweighs the bad. But to your point, the bad cannot rear its ugly head in playoff games because you can't overcome it.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How about, have you seen 7 straight games of good?
No, I have not. But,
So
I saw 3rd and 30 against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I saw 52 yards to T.Y. Hilton, and it was a thing of beauty.
Yes.
It's not that easy to make that throw beautifully. It's perfect.
It was.
Even against the Houston Texans, remember, that's when I proclaimed them unjinxable. I got I see firepower. I see star power. This team is legitimately, authentically a contender. And the very next game after I proclaimed that was Houston at home.
And he threw a touchdown with 2 picks and almost lost.
Okay, and it took a 98-yard Dak drive at the end of the game. Remember this? It took 98 yards for him to hit a late touchdown pass to pull it out of the fire against the Texans. Is that not a bad sign?
Right.
Yeah, it's a bad sign. And then Jacksonville was a bad sign. And then Tennessee was a bad sign. And then the worst sign of all was this game last Sunday against Sam Howell at Washington. I can't defend it because he's the leader of the team.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's the best player. I thought Micah was emerging as the best player on the team, but he has not played that way, and we're going to discuss him in just a minute here on this show.
Skip, Micah, I still believe Micah is the best player, but he's not the most important player.
Yeah, well, because of the position.
Yeah. So Dak needs to show. Now, this is a great time for him to go mistake-free football over the next month. Yeah. And if you do that, you give yourself a great opportunity. But the way he's turned the ball over the last month with 6 turnovers, you're going home.
Okay. Well, usually the final month of the season pretty much predicts who you are, right?
Yeah.
Well, this predicts that they're a nightmare.
Yeah, well, you're 2-2, and Dak has 6 turnovers.
Okay.
6 picks, excuse me.
Yet he understands a turnover better than all of us put together. Well, I guess he understands how to make a turnover.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
And guys, the bad news for Dak is that this Bucs defense is getting quite opportunistic when it comes to generating takeaways. They had 12 in the first 13 games of the season, 7 in the last 4. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.